Multiple reports have dropped today that indicate a blockbuster trade is about to happen, and it seems like the Toronto Raptors are going to be a part of it. So we'll dive into all of that in this video. Let's dive into the first report. It's basically, according to multiple sources who spoke with Fink Sports, that talks from the most active teams, obviously Philadelphia, Miami, and Portland, which makes sense. They're among the most active teams as they have all the disgruntled stars, but basically, as well as the Toronto Raptors and Chicago Bulls, they are heating up, and many of them view the Phoenix Suns as a team that could push a potential blockbuster deal across the finish line. So basically, the Suns are looking to get interlinked in terms of a big deal going down with Damian Lillard, and we've discussed over the past week or so about how all the rumors, all the reports have been heating up about the Toronto Raptors getting involved in a Damian Lillard package, right? You want to check out all the specifics regarding the Toronto Raptors, check out those videos, but we've been linked in the sense of potentially landing Damian Lillard, right? We've been linked in terms of being a secondary team that acquires a guy like Tyler Hero in a multi-deal package with Damian Lillard going to Miami. There are a lot of scenarios that are sort of cooking up that involve the Toronto Raptors in the sort of Damian Lillard sweepstakes. But it seems like, as that report indicates, things are actually materializing now where multi-team packages, which always sort of have their struggles, have their contentions, always just fall apart, but they are heating up over the last 24 hours. And this is essentially what a Blazers beat reporter is coming out and saying in his own sort of outlet. Basically, that in the last 24 hours have been the loudest around a Damian Lillard trade. As of now, there are multiple teams that have been linked to potential deals, with deals that do not involve Lillard ending up in Miami, which this is very interesting, that piece, because we know Damian Lillard wants to be in Miami. That's the destination that he wants to be, but the Portland Trailblazers are not just only looking to end up leaving their star in the Miami Heat, giving him what he wants, because we know the Heat don't have that many assets to sort of send back to Portland. So things are going to have to get weird in order for one of these deals to actually go down. Porter ended up going on to say that basically he still has Miami as the likely landing spot for obvious reasons, but it seems like Portland is very much trying to put together non-Heat deals either as an alternative or as a way to extract more value from the Miami Heat. So basically, what teams could be this other squad, right? The Raptors have been linked as a mystery team for Damian Lillard. They know that they have to have pieces, and they've been known to take big swings on superstars that are a little bit disgruntled. So it feels like the Raptors are a legitimate team that's actively in these sort of trade discussions, and with training camp literally just around the corner, players are getting back in the gym already. Portland probably wants to have this mess dealt with by the time everyone's back in the gymnasium, so they have a full contingent of players ready to go during their training camp, so Scoot Henderson can sort of groom his group to really make a push in the Western Conference in his young sort of squad. So with the Toronto Raptors sort of actively involved in these deals, the Heat not having all the necessary assets, it feels like a deal could end up going down. There's also this Finks report ended up going on to say that the Raptors were also interested in DeAndre Ayton if, they don't end up getting Lillard and all that type of stuff. But we acquired Jakob Poeltl. He's not eligible to be traded by January 15th, so it's unlikely, but I figured I'd throw up that report there as well. But basically, it feels like a Damian Lillard deal is going to be happening very, very soon, and I'm not sure if I have the screenshot of it right now. No, but basically, Damian Lillard, if you go through his liked tweets, he's also liking a bunch of stuff saying, Damian Lillard is a legend in Portland, thank you, Dame, and all that type of stuff. So basically liking a bunch of tweets that have indicated, oh, he's already gone, because, if he's requested a trade, he's still in Portland, and he's liking those tweets. It seems like a little bit weird time. So feel like Dame knows something that we don't. He's also liking tweets about Heat legend and all that stuff. So Dame is very active on social media with cryptic things. He always says, I tune out the noise and all that sort of stuff, basketball first. But he's one of those superstars that definitely like to play into the drama online and social media. So things are heating up on his end as well. And there's also a report coming up, and this one is more sketchy. This one's a little bit more out there, in terms of sources. He did break something in 2020 when I sort of researched him about Russell Westbrook and the Houston Rockets and all that sort of stuff. But basically, he's saying that Damian Lillard to the Toronto Raptors is picked up major steam over the past 24 hours. 3 separate sources have confirmed to Gregory Smith, of Nihilus Bucks, basically KXCN radio network. So it'll be a multi-team trade. Raptors famously traded for Kawhi Leonard, all that sort of stuff. And one option is DeAndre Ayton going to Portland, and then Nurkic ended up going with Nasir Little to Phoenix. So basically, this also aligns with the Phoenix Suns report that we saw. And the reason I sort of giving a little bit of weight to this, all the stuff that's coming out. Again, I broke down the more solidified, solid reports earlier, but also after this report came out, basically Sam Amick, who's a very credible reporter as well, came out and said, with Dame, I think a Harden-esque escalation wouldn't happen unless he's dealt to a team like, say, Toronto, where he clearly doesn't want to be. And for everyone that cites the Raptors Kawhi Leonard trade as an example, as a team winning with the risky on betting a player and want to be elsewhere, let's not forget Kawhi was only one season away from free agency at that time. Lillard with a was a very significant contrast, has 4 very expensive seasons left on his contract, and one thing to roll the dice for a season and hope it works out, but quite another to take on a deal worth $216 million and brace for potentially disastrous fireworks to unfold from there. So basically, as soon as Toronto got licked, it feels like a last-ditch effort, and we know Damian Lillard's camp. It's been actively put out there. He got fined for it. Have been leaking things to the media, leaking things to reporters in order to change the narrative to scare away teams from acquiring him. So this report coming from Sam Amick feels like another sort of ploy from Damian Lillard's camp to say, hey, we see the smoke. We see the gears turning on a potential Toronto Raptors trade. We know the shade that Dame has thrown to Schroeder, or at least his team did. He doesn't want to go to Toronto, all that sort of stuff. If this deal is actually going down, it feels like a last-ditch effort for Damian Lillard to sort of not let that happen. Now, if I think he does end up getting traded to the Toronto Raptors, everything that is regarding his contract and stuff, I think is actually hurts his chances of getting dealt again. I mean, the Raptors, if they give up all those assets, they're not just going to flip him for nothing. And if he sits out, he's not going to make that $216 million. So it's a situation where I feel like Damian Lillard, if we acquire him, yes, he might be disgruntled. Yes, he might be fired up. Yes, he might demand a trade to the Miami Heat, but he will play. So depending on the package we actually have to give up, because we've been talking about potential Damian Lillard packages. We've been whipping up the trade machine all of this past week. I'm not someone that's going to be excited about Scottie Barnes getting dealt away in a Damian Lillard deal and then getting him as, along with other contracts in order to make the money work, right? I'm not for that type of package for Dame, but, if a more reasonable trade ended up happening and Damian Lillard's brought in, even if he's a bit disgruntled, I think it would be fine depending on what we'd actually have to give up, what type of players given our whole contract situation, because it could balance out our team. Right now, we do not have a lot of shooting, especially in our starting lineup with Schroeder, Scottie Barnes, and Jakob Poeltl there as starters, and Gary being inconsistent, OG being consistent a little bit. OG's been fairly consistent this past season, knocking down the threes, and then obviously Pascal Siakam, more of a midi shooter, and obviously the three-point shot hasn't been, his bread and butter, so to speak. So the Raptors' lack of shooting could be helped out big time with Damian Lillard. So maybe it's worth taking the risk if the package isn't that crazy, especially given how mid-level the Toronto Raptors have been looking, at least over the last season. So we'll keep you tuned if something official comes out. Wouldn't be surprised if I check my phone in a couple minutes and a deal ends up going down before I sort of report on this video. But again, we've been teased before. It looked like the Pascal Siakam stuff was a done deal earlier in the summer, and then things ended up falling apart as multi-team trades just often do. So, definitely not a sure thing, but it looks like by all indications that a blockbuster deal is going to be on the horizon for Damian Lillard, and the Toronto Raptors are likely going to be a part of it. So subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. It means the world to me. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.